Tales from the Darkside, Season 1, Episode 17, Madness Room. An episode about a rich couple and their lawyer who find a secret room in their house and decide to check it out. In this episode, we have a cast of 3. Edward, older rich guy, married to a much younger woman, Kathy. It's not clear that she's a gold digger at this point, but it is kind of hinted at. He literally starts the episode by going, "Why are you even married to me? I'm so old and ugly, and you're so beautiful." But, he's got some cash, so she'll put up with it. And then we get introduced to the next character, Michael, who's the lawyer of Edward and is helping him fill out his will. Edward has some heart problems, and it seems like he might be dying soon. So, what does Kathy, his wife, and the lawyer decide to do after filling out the will? Well, of course they pull out the Ouija board. Of course, that's what anybody would do. They try to contact some evil spirits. So Kathy and Michael break out the Ouija board, and what do you know? They can contact some spirits almost immediately. They don't even have to try. This house is filled with them. They get the spirit of the previous owner of the house named Ben, and he begins communicating with them and tells them that he lives in this madness room, which is a secret room located somewhere in the house that they're going to have to find. Kathy then conveniently brings up the fact that she's been doing some research on this house that they're living in the local library. This was in the 80s. And she found out that actually this house has a tragic past, and apparently this madness room literally makes people go mad, and a woman shot her husband in this madness room and then threw their baby into the well to kill it. The ghost of Ben gives them some clues on how to find the map to the madness room, and they come down the corridor and actually find it and kind of smash it open in a pretty cool scene. Now, usually characters in horror movies get a reputation for being pretty dumb, but, I think if I had a madness room in my house, I would actually want to check it out. I, however, would definitely not do what they do next, which is lock themselves in the madness room, drop the key through a little hole that's in the floor. So, they've locked themselves in, and now they don't have the key. They've dropped it into this hole. That is definitely something I wouldn't do. And at first, the older man, Edward, shows some skepticism that maybe he doesn't want to go into the madness room, and maybe he just wants to see where it is so they can close it off. But, he's kind of drawn into it. And this room certainly does look crazy.
What's that?
Ophelia Fairchild's diary. July 17, 1888. I love my baby, but it cries.
There's these little dolls that are torn apart, hanging from the ceiling. So it looks like a little child's room that was torn up by a demon. There's a bed in the corner with all the sheets, claw marks on them. There's a vanity that's torn apart, and a bunch of dolls that look like they have a noose around their neck and are torn apart with crazy hair. This is a very good set, and I wish we had spent more time in the madness room. However, we do spend a good 8 minutes in there. So, for Tales from the Darkside, not too bad. Kathy is the first person to be driven mad by the madness room. She takes out a gun that we saw earlier, points it at her husband, saying that she wants to kill him. But she ends up shooting Michael, his lawyer, instead, and then turns the gun to herself, and then kills herself, landing in Michael's lap. And we get a couple twists here. We learn this was actually all a setup. Kathy and Michael, playing kissy face and winking, ogling each other this entire episode, and yes, it looks like they're in a relationship. She was cheating on her husband with the studly, lawyerly Michael, and this was their scheme to have her husband, Edward, have a heart attack so that he dies and Kathy gets the money and she can run off into the sunset with Michael. So after they do this fake suicide, and Edward seems to be on the brink of death with his heart attack, and Edward also stupidly drops the key through this crack in the floor because the ghost told him to do this earlier. As much as this guy is being taken advantage of, man, does he do some stupid things. He was the first one to lock him in the room, and now he's dropping the key through this hole. All because this ghost, which was really Kathy and Michael, told him to do so. So I don't feel that bad for him. He's now screwed them. And we get kind of a twist upon a twist. There actually is a ghost of Ben that has been kind of coordinating this thing. And right before he's about to be killed, Edward throws the lantern they were using to light the place and lights the entire thing on fire as the ghost of Ben laughs at them from his picture on the wall. So we're not exactly sure how much of this was the ghost of Ben and how much of this actually was Kathy and Michael. It seems like it was a combination, though you could totally interpret it as the ghost was orchestrating this thing the entire time. But it did seem like Kathy and Michael had their own scheme to steal the money, and the ghost kind of nudged them along with his Ouija board. So, They all die. But honestly, all these characters are terrible. Even Edward, who's supposed to be the good guy. I don't like him either. He's an idiot. Don't drop a key through the crack in the floor if it's the only key that gets you out of this room. And don't lock yourself into a place called the Madness Room. What a moron. However, I really like this episode, and we are completely back to horror. And the twist actually works really well. It makes sense. They're trying to scheme him and take his money. They're trying to give him a heart attack, which they basically do. And then there's a ghost at the end. So I give Madness Room an 8 out of 10. It's a return to horror. There's a little bit of blood in this episode, which you don't see much at all in Tales from the Darkside, which she shoots herself and shoots Michael. And it's pretty dark. I like it a lot. The sets of the Madness Room look really great. And this is sandwiched in between The Tear Collector, which I thought was okay, but it was definitely drama. And definitely the worst episode of season 1, if not the entire season. The one that comes up next, If the Shoe Fits. Oh boy, strap on for this one. I know I am. It's getting a 1 out of 10. I'll let you know already. I hate it, but I'll try to find some positives. There might be a positive to the next episode if the shoe fits. Maybe. Just gotta dig really deep. Stuart Whitman played the character Edward, the husband who got duped. He was in lots of movies. When the Worlds Collide, 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still, the series Fantasy Island, with that small character. World War II movie The Longest Day, he tends to play rugged, all-American guys in his roles. But in this Tales from the Darkside, he's a lot older, so... Teresa Pear played the character Kathy, and she was in some questionable movies. Only a couple of them, but very, very questionable. Like Easy Money and Jailbait Babysitter. Yeah, you heard me right, Jailbait Babysitter. It's an R-rated comedy. They do have the trailer. I was going to play it, but I don't want to get nuked from the internet, so it's very, very naughty. I shake my finger at you, Teresa. We continue our journey to review every single Tales from the Darkside on our ever-ending mission to review everything. Next up, we do If the Shoe Fits, the worst episode so far.
Be the one I need for a long time. Have an emotional stare at the